Donald Trump's pitch to black voters versus the real story. That's tonight on NewsNight. Good evening. I'm Phillip in New York, and tonight, the former president goes home. He was right here in New York rallying a crowd of thousands, promising a New York turnaround. Tonight, we have a NewsNight conversation with Congressman Byron Donalds, a Republican from Florida. He's been rumored to be a potential Trump vice presidential pick, and he's here in the studio with us. Congressman, why does former President Trump keep repeating those statistics that are very easy to fact check and are not true?
Well, a couple of things, Abby. First, it's good to be with you. Yeah. Now, let me say this. It is without question, whether you're black, brown, white, doesn't matter. We were all doing better under Donald Trump. You might want to look at raw job numbers, but a lot of those jobs are part-time jobs, not full-time jobs, not career jobs that help people actually change their stars.
What about the poverty rate? I mean, those statistics are pretty clear, too.
But here's one thing that is critical. When you do wages adjusted for inflation, that is down. And so you might be making more money, but you're paying significantly more for the goods and products that you use every day. That's affecting every American. It's hurting black Americans and Hispanic Americans more than any other group. And that's the fundamental problem with Bidenomics, and that's why he is being rejected by a lot of
I hear
voters.
What you're saying about inflation, and it's certainly true that inflation is obviously a huge issue. But on the issue of whether or not black unemployment is higher or lower under Biden or Trump, it is just a fact that it is lower under Biden. So, I mean, Trump can make a case to black voters, but he shouldn't be lying about it.
Well, here's the fundamental case. When you're talking about economics, do you have a job? That's an important thing. But are you making enough money to get ahead? Do you have more disposable income? Is there a pathway to building generational wealth? That is not possible under the Joe Biden economy. It's been a disaster for virtually all Americans except the very rich.
I do want to ask you about one aspect of that, which is about student loans, because that's an issue that actually matters to quite a lot of black voters. The Biden administration has pursued a policy of trying to find student loan forgiveness basically wherever they can. This is something that clearly disproportionately benefits black and brown borrowers. They owe an average of $25,000 more in student debt than white borrowers. Is that a policy that, I mean, shouldn't black voters be looking at that when they're looking at who's going to put forward policies that benefit them?
No, I don't think so. I think the number one policy, especially if you have a college degree, is the economy thriving? Is it robust enough where I can use that degree to earn more money for my own benefit and for my family's benefit? But number two, and this is the most important thing, Joe Biden doesn't have the authority to do this. The Supreme Court has told him no. Congress has told him no, but he's done it anyway. That is a violation of separation of powers. You just don't get to pick and choose what money you're going to spend someplace, because 2/3 of the American people, which also includes a lot of black people and a lot of Hispanic people, they did not go to college. And so what you're telling those people are, it didn't matter if you didn't go to college, but we're going to go ahead and give a bailout to some people who did. That's not right. It's not fair. It is not something that the American people want to see happen.
The racial wealth gap in terms of who owes what for higher education, do you believe that some of that is due to just longstanding disparities in what black families have, generational wealth that white families were able to build up that black families were not? And do you think that the government should play any role in trying to help black borrowers catch up?
Well, there's a couple of things in that. When you're talking about generational wealth gaps, yes, some of it is, did my mother or did my grandmother have any wealth to pass on to me? That answer was no. The wealth I'm building now is something that my wife and I are building with our families. There's a lot of black families that are doing that right now. A lot of mixed families, a lot of Hispanic families. That's happening today. You can't fault people who were able to pass wealth on before. What you can do is make sure there are opportunities.
It's not faulting
But when you talk about the wealth gap amongst races, you are talking about previous examples where other families were able to build wealth and pass it on. So that's why for a lot of black men in particular, but men in general, they're talking about building generational wealth. That's not something the government can help you do, except for the government having the proper rules and the proper policies for the economy to grow and thrive.
Both you and Trump talk about sort of moving past race in politics.
Especially black men, Hispanic men, etc., because they have seen the Joe Biden policies. It's been a disaster. That's why I call him the master of disaster, because everything has gone wrong. And they want a president who's going to be focused on America first, get the country on track.
What do you say to black and Hispanic voters who not just are paying attention to the economic stuff, but also about character. Donald Trump's character in particular. When he was running his real estate empire, he was sued by the DOJ for racial discrimination. More recently, when he was president of the United States, he didn't want to denounce the white supremacists and racists in Charlottesville. When people look at that record, what do you say to them when they say we can't trust Donald Trump?
Abby, we got to be truthful. If you go back and watch the entire clip, it's a 17-minute clip still on YouTube of the president talking about what happened in Charlottesville. He denounced all of the white supremacy that was going on in Charlottesville. I've reviewed that tape. I know you and your producers have reviewed that tape multiple times. Let's not take one statement out of context. Okay. Let's be factual now. Well, you got to be for 17 minutes. He denounced it. That is the history. People go on YouTube right now. Don't listen to my words. Go on YouTube right now and watch it.
Congressman?
The point that I'm making.
What's the point that you're making about Donald Trump and the history that's pretty clear? The racial discrimination lawsuit. Mm-hmm. There's the Central Park Five. I mean, there are a lot of examples.
But we can also talk about Joe Biden's record.
No, but I'm just wondering. Donald Trump is making a pitch to black voters.
Joe Biden issued the 94 crime bill. It was devastating to black voters. You know this. It was devastating to black men in particular, the 94 crime bill. Joe Biden did that. Joe Biden didn't want his own kids to be bused with schools. Joe Biden did that. That was his record as well. So let's not just focus on what Donald Trump has said a long time ago. Look at his record as president of the United States.
I don't know.
His record as president was one that actually wanted all Americans to thrive and succeed. He did not pick and choose when he was president.
Don't you think that Donald Trump ought to address some of those things from his own past?
No, he doesn't need to do that. Everybody knows Donald Trump's entire history. The man has been in the public eye for 4 decades, if not 5 decades now, in the United States. What Americans are looking for right now is his competency as commander-in-chief. And that is why when people compare 45 versus 46, I mean, look, the 45th president was significantly better than the 46th. It's without a doubt.
That's obviously your opinion. One of the interesting things that's come up is that you have this bill that you support that addresses crime in D.C., and it actually restricts the district from creating laws that would have leniency potentially in the sentencing for people who are younger, people who are 18 to 25 years old.
What's going on in the District of Columbia is that they treat all offenders from the ages of 25 and younger as minors. No other state in the country does that. No other jurisdiction does that. So all we did in the nation's capital is say, you're going to treat D.C. offenders 18 and younger as minors like everybody else does. That's what we did. That's the appropriate application of the law because juvenile crime is up massively in D.C. and D.C. is not safe because the crimes in D.C. that are being tried as juveniles for people who are 22, 23, 24 is carjacking. It is burglary. Hold on.
I understand, but your bill is a blanket bill.
That is wrong.
It doesn't discriminate based on
and because the D.C. City Council does not take crime seriously, then it is incumbent upon Congress to do that. And that's what we're going to do.
One of the interesting things about this...
Do you want the nation's capital to be safe? I know I do.
Congressman, one of the interesting things about this, though, is that it actually prevents the D.C. officials from making laws that actually are stricter on crime. Why would you want to do that?
The D.C. City Council has proven, frankly, for the last decade, that they are not interested in actually prosecuting crime and keeping people safe in D.C. They went through a series of bills that they wanted to do, which Muriel Bowser herself vetoed, and the council overrode her. It took Congress to act to throw that out. My colleague from Georgia, Andrew Clyde, led that effort last year, and basically we had to shame Joe Biden into signing that law to repeal what the D.C. City Council wanted to do because they wanted to make it more progressive and not make public safety number one. What D.C. is doing is not about leniency and it's not about second chances. What D.C. is doing is this radical progressive view of criminal justice, which is making communities less safe. That's what I oppose.
I want to ask you about another issue. Just recently, there was this issue of the search warrant for the search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago property. Yeah. And it authorized the use of deadly force for the FBI agents.
Well, first of all, my view of it is very simple. You have the FBI going in to do this raid on Mar-a-Lago. This is not like any other raid that they would do. FBI agents who did that raid did not want to do it. They didn't think it was necessary. And this is all politically motivated at the end because Merrick Garland wanted that to happen. Merrick Garland wanted the scenes, which your network did cover, of going into Mar-a-Lago.
Congressman, with all due respect, the language for the search is standard operating procedure for every operation of that kind that the FBI does. They did the same thing when they searched Joe Biden's house.
Yes, but I would say
so how is that weaponizing?
What I would say when they searched
Joe Biden weaponizing
when
the
they
DOJ
searched
against
Joe
himself?
Biden's house, there weren't all the networks, from my recollection, with helicopters flying over the beach house in Rehoboth Beach, going to find the classified documents in his garage that he took when he was the vice president and when he was the United States senator, which, by the way, is a violation of the Espionage
Congressman,
Act.
I'm talking about
They didn't do that.
I'm talking about
they didn't
this
politicize
conspiracy theory.
The fact is that Joe Biden violated the Espionage Act. He did it with impunity.
I just want to know.
Robert Hur is not prosecuting
Congressman,
him.
I just want to know that you are not responding to a very simple question about a conspiracy theory that you voiced.
What conspiracy theory? Can I be very clear with you?
Sure.
I'm not sure what Merrick Garland is trying to do these days.
So the answer
because
is
it is
no.
clear that the
You
Department
won't
of Justice is being weaponized against Donald Trump. That is clear.
That's pretty extraordinary.
That they're weaponized against Donald Trump. That's not extraordinary. That's what's happening right now,
extraordinary.
Abby, we just had this conversation.
Is it because
the
former president himself has raised this conspiracy that you feel like you have to support
I've not even talked to the president about this. You asked me a question about the FBI raid. I'm telling you, we are witnessing a weaponization of the Department of Justice against a political rival because Donald Trump had documents covered under the Presidential Records Act. They raided Mar-a-Lago.
I'm not litigating.
Joe Biden had documents, and there's no prosecution because he's a senile old man.
With you
that's not even equal
validity
justice.
Of the charges.
The only thing I'm saying is that what we have witnessed is an uneven application of the law by the Department of Justice. You had Hillary Clinton, Hillary Clinton violated the Espionage Act. There were no charges.
You're changing
Joe Biden
the subject.
because the purpose of the warrant is because of classified material, is it not?
I'm not talking about
But you have
the
an
purpose
unequal
of the warrant.
application of the law.
I'm talking
about... You have a two-tier system of justice that you don't want to actually acknowledge. I would argue right now, if you look at the actions of Jack Smith and Merrick Garland, there is an attempt to incarcerate Donald Trump over foolishness because they cannot win a political election. And they have lost their minds collectively. And they have decided that whether it's the documents case or this foolish January 6th case, which has no true merit, or what's happening here in Manhattan with Alvin Bragg, that they have chosen to use the justice system for political purposes and interfere in elections. That's not a conspiracy theory, Abby. That's a real situation. We should be talking about not about what's written in the FBI document.
Congressman, the legal cases are how they adjudicate whether they are done by law. So, I think that is definitely on the table.
You should follow the law. That's what the Constitution says.
Congressman Byron Donalds, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us.